You're everything I could have ever hoped for in a wife, and so much more. I've said it a million times, but I just truly am the luckiest guy in the world.
Although on paper I have only known you for 6 weeks, my soul has known your soul for a lifetime.
I want to pretend that I'm shocked by who got married and who didn't. I'm not. I really am not. I would be lying, because at the end of the day, most of these people were there for clout. Most of the people were there for clout. I'm disappointed that some of them didn't have the decency to give their partners a heads up. At least with Monica and Joey, I think Monica to some extent, I don't think she was prepared. I think she knew he was undecided, but I don't think she knew he was going to be a definite no. I think had she known he was going to be a definite no, she wouldn't have taken it as badly as she did. Same goes for Ben, and same goes for Devin, which is really sad. And then, oh my God, Taylor and Daniel, they've been the couple of the season. I've loved their journey. I really have. Yes, there was the hiccup with the, oh, you followed me on Instagram stuff, but I love how consistent they are, and I'm happy they got their happily ever after. Anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love is Blind, Season 8, Episode 13. So finally we get to find out, because Sarah was asked, is love truly blind? And so she was thinking about it, and she told Ben no. She says, at this point, I don't think it's the right time. I think there are plenty of things that we're not aligned on. And so Ben is a bit confused. I think she led him on. This is what I'm going to say. Sarah led Ben on. She made him believe that she was there and she was going to say yes. And I don't know whether she did it because she wanted to come on TV or whether she did it because she genuinely had feelings for me. My money is on the fact that she didn't have any feelings for him, and she just said this so that she could, get to be on Netflix. Because Ben asks us, so shall we continue seeing one another then and see if it's a matter of time? That's the reason why you can't say yes. And she said, we'll talk. And then she went off. The look on Sarah's sister's face tells me that the family knew she was going to say no. The mother didn't know, but the sister and the sister's girlfriend knew she was going to say no. I said this before, that they were the driving force behind Sarah's decision. So they go into a car, Sarah's mom, her sister, and Sarah, and they're having this conversation, and they're sort of asking her, are you okay? What happened? Where do you stand? And her excuse doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I don't mean to seem insensitive as a black person, but at the end of the day, for Sarah to say the reason why she's not marrying this man is because she asked him about Black Lives Matter and he said he had no opinion about it. She asked him about a lot of things and he didn't have an opinion. Don't use us as an excuse for you not saying yes. Don't use us as an excuse for not saying yes. If you knew that you're not compatible, because this came up in the pods, you could have easily walked away from this man. I have to give kudos to Madison that she walked away. She's not the best example, but at the end of the day, if she really was a champion, if she really was an ally, she could have left in the pods when he said he had no opinion either way. So for her to leave the pods, go through staying in an apartment with him, and then realize that, oh, actually, he's not my person, I'm not buying it. Her family told her no after she brought him. Whatever happened, whatever opinion her sister and her sister's partner had, was the driving force behind her decision. For her to use his religion as an excuse to say, his church, they don't align on some things. You are not his church. He is not his church. He can change that if needed. But that's not a justifiable reason for you to say you are not saying yes to this man. I'm not buying that as well. She said in her confessional, she says, I didn't know what to say to Ben because at the end of the day, for me, it's over. I'm moving on. And for him to ask to continue to see each other, it doesn't make sense. We're just prolonging something. And it's like, you prolonged it for 4 weeks, knowing that you're going to say no. Suddenly now you're very ethical and your morals, and you want to say, oh, actually there's no point in us. You should have told him the truth before you got to the altar. You should have told him, I'm not going to say yes, we're going through this process, but it's just so you and I can get clout and we get to the altar and I champion my cause, you champion your cause, and we keep it stepping. He would have appreciated her better. You could see Ben was shocked. Ben didn't know what to do. this is not something that he expected. I think he saw himself saying yes to her. He saw her saying yes to him. So the idea that she stood there and said no is something he couldn't believe and he couldn't fathom. And he was still trying to process. When Ben spoke to his friends, he made it seem like him asking her if they wanted to continue outside of the experiment. He was being cordial. I think he really was serious. I think he had feelings for her and hoped that they could try over time to sort of rebuild whatever they had. But I think his ego was bruised the moment she showed that she really didn't give any she had no opinion either way, and she was ready to step on. I think this is why he was saying this to his friends. I love that his friends prayed over him and sort of were trying to comfort him. And they still prayed for Sarah, irregardless of the fact that she had walked off. I don't think this is a good idea. This was a good relationship for him. And I'm sad that irregardless of the fact that he had the social media stuff that came out while he was filming or when the show first premiered, I don't think anybody deserves to be treated like that. And I think Sarah at least owes him an apology, and I hope it's addressed at the reunion. So next to get married is Monica and Joey. Monica and Joey, for me, they remind me of Alexa and Brennan in the sense that they really didn't have any drama in the pods and they seemed to have kept to themselves. Yes, they had issues with her talking about the sock box in a family home. Well, he didn't like that. And the issue with the sister. But I think they've always been very level-headed and easygoing. Oh, that's the impression that I got. I questioned the sister's sort of behavior when Monica's sister said, Joey was performing and it looked like he was reading from a script and he really didn't seem serious about her. And I remember saying that the sister was giving jealousy vibes. Anyway, they're getting ready for the wedding and the sister talks about the fact that she hopes Joey is a good one because Monica has brought home, a lot of questionable characters. And it's like, well, out of the questionable characters she's brought home, you're actually engaged to one of them. So let that sink in. How questionable are they if you are engaged to one of the people that she was sort of seeing or maybe was sort of interested in her and then switched over and went to you? It gives sibling rivalry. It gives jealousy vibes in the sense that the sister wants to be the center of attention and she doesn't like the idea that Monica is the center of attention. Monica is the one who's gone on a dating show and has found this guy and is about to get married on international TV. That's the impression that I get. Yes, the other friends were praising Joey and whatever, but the sister, I agree with Joey that the switch up from saying I don't like Joey to suddenly, oh, Joey's a great guy, I'm not buying it. I really am not. You have Joey. Joey is talking to his friends. His friends really seem to like Monica. They think she will sort of fit in very well into his life and his lifestyle. They have a conversation about Joey has a confessional and he talks about the sister and how he's unsure about how Monica's sister feels about him because she didn't like him and then suddenly she switched up and she likes him. That is questionable. He has the right to question that because what about him made her change her opinion? Because at first she said she didn't like him, she felt he was fake, she felt he was putting on an act, and then suddenly she likes him, she thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. I agree with Joey. I would have reason for pause to say, what is it about me that has changed that you finally find palatable, that you finally think is worthy of me being your sister's, husband or fiance or whatever? I don't get it. I loved that you had Joey sit down with his mom and his sisters and they really spoke about, their struggles after the parents divorced and his dad moved on and his mom, I think, stayed with the kids and stuff. So that was really cute to see how Joey stood up and was there for the family and was sort of the backbone of the family, which they really appreciated. They all spoke very highly of Monica and how much they liked her and how well they thought she'd fit in their family, which I really liked. The dad and stepmom also sat down with Joey and they spoke. The dad tried to give him wisdom because of his experience with marriage. So I love that for Joey. Monica had a moment with her mom. I think her mom was trying to sort of get her to understand that Joey's an amazing guy and if he says yes, then they need to keep it stepping. Monica was more or less saying she wants Joey to choose her. So her decision will be determined by Joey's decision. That was what her impression was. What do I think about Joey? Joey, I think, is too obsessive at times, and his mind, once it's made up, it's very difficult for him to sort of change it. And I think seeing Monica and seeing the family sort of set up, I think he must have got the ick, or he must have sort of tuned out. So I am concerned, especially when he came in on a skateboard or up the aisle. It was like, yeah, that's who you are, but I don't think it's serious. He and his friends wore these surfer dude blue shirts. I didn't like it. They should have just worn plain white shirts. Monica was walked down the aisle by her mom and dad, which was the cutest thing ever. Because I have a feeling Monica still thinks Joey's going to say yes, and I hope they say yes. So Monica gets up the altar. She's accompanied by her mom and dad. I don't know whether they were there for moral support and they knew that she was going to say no, or whether, this is what she wanted. I had a feeling that she really wanted to get married. I had a feeling that Joey really wanted to get married. When I saw the chair for the sister that's passed, for Joey's sister that's passed, I thought, this is them going to finally say yes. And so to have them say nice things about one another, be excited to see one another, and then have Monica say no. What do I think? I think, if we're being honest, yes, I said they remind me of Brennan and Alexa, but the problem is we never really saw their physical intimacy. Even on the reveal, when you had them sort of meet, there wasn't that initial sort of spark that you'd expect for people to want to kiss one another and whatever. Even when they kissed, it seemed very awkward and very staged. Joey saying that the sisters' sort of reservations are the thing that sort of held them back. To some extent, I think so. To some extent, hear me out. I think Monica allowed her sister to sort of get into her head and sort of say these things that made her change her mind. And I also think Joey has been used to people loving and accepting him all the time. So the idea that you'd be in a relationship with someone whose family member didn't accept him is something he didn't expect. And I think this is why he felt that way. Poor communication was another challenging factor that allowed these two people that should have said yes to say no. Because at the end of the day, for Joey to say Monica only told him, the first time she told him she loved him was at the altar, that sort of raises red flags that, so what have the two of you been talking about? I think they both agreed that they were not ready for marriage. They might not have had the physical intimacy down, as Joey said that he was working on it. And so I think these are the reasons why they said no. But I think they possess the right components to have been a successful relationship. I know Joey apparently has moved on and is dating another girl from the pod squad, but I feel Monica would have been a better match for him. I think she would have been a better match. His family adored her. They spoke highly of her. So I don't know why he couldn't get over the sister saying whatever she said, unless the sister said certain things that we didn't get to hear on camera and that sort of touched Joey in a certain way. I will never understand why they didn't get married. Next to walk down the aisle is Virginia and Devin. What do I think? I've always side-eyed them because we've barely got to see their journey. Outside of them having a conversation about the prenup, they really didn't have any sort of other conversations that we saw. We really didn't get to see as much screen time of them. And I don't know as well, similar to Monica and Joey, whether it was because there was nothing going on there, whether after the reveal they realized that the feelings were more tilted one side and the other person wasn't in it. And so they decided to keep each other going. Because to me, it gives the impression that Virginia wanted to be in this process, wanted to be in the experiment. So she kept going, even though she really was put off by a couple of things that she realized about her husband. I know they spoke about politics. I know they spoke about women's rights. And I don't know whether whatever responses Devin gave her were off-putting for her. But she wasn't honest enough to prepare him in advance to say that I will be saying no on wedding day, because it looks like she most probably said no. You had, her mom there to support her. Her mom kept reassuring her and telling her that we love you, we love you, we love you, which is amazing. But then you also had Devin's mom and sister come and see her while she was getting ready for the wedding and sort of welcoming her into the family and telling her how happy they were to be receiving her. I think if she had told Devin the truth, this wouldn't have happened, which is really sad, because even when her friend said, when I see you later, you'll be sort of Mrs. So-and-so, you could tell she was looking at the lady like, why are you saying that? I'm going to say no. That's the impression that I got. So it's really sad that it got to this. Devin seemed like he was all in. He seemed like he was ready to say yes, because even his niece was part of the bridal party, which was cute. His mom was there. He was asking for advice. What advice do you have to give me now that I'm about to become a married man? Blah, blah, blah. I think had he known that she's going to say no, that's the impression that I get, he wouldn't have been asking, or he wouldn't have put his family through all this, because this is really sad, because you get the impression that these two people are going to say yes, just like with the Monica and Joey situation. And then for them to turn around and say no is really devastating and heartbreaking. And I don't know how someone like Devin is going to cope, because he's got this history of substance abuse. I know his mom sort of implied that, you faced a lot of challenges and this was preparing you for this point, which is why I wish if she's going to say no, she was honest with him in advance. I wish she was honest with him in advance. I know she didn't agree with his beliefs about his spirituality, about his political beliefs, and which is really sad, though, which is really sad that this is the point in which America is at. But still, at the same time, there has to be a lot of things going in between the two of you in order for you to get married with someone. And I wish we had known some of the things. Maybe it will be discussed at the reunion. I don't know. So you have everyone say goodbye to Virginia, including her friends. They all took time to say goodbye. I don't know why we needed all that with this, because there really wasn't much of a storyline for Virginia and Devin, or whether this is something she asked for. So Virginia was walked up the aisle by her dad. It was really sweet, because her dad was encouraging her to take her time and enjoy the moment, because I think her dad wasn't aware of what she was going to say at the altar. I don't think she confided in anyone outside of her mom. I think she only confided in her mom, and I think her mom must have known what her decision was going to be at the end of the day. So they walked down the aisle with her dad. Devin was excited to see her. Her dad really was welcoming to Devin, because the dad said he really likes Devin. And so they get to say their vows. I thought Devin's vows were very thoughtful. He had taken his time to actually think of what he wanted to say to his bride. With Virginia, not so much. I don't think so. Virginia's vows came across as though she was sort of trying to say the right thing that wouldn't lead anyone on, while still appearing as though she really cared about this man. And so for them to say their vows, to each their own, the fact that they were married by her aunt, and then for her to turn around and do that, was very disturbing for me. I wish she or maybe it's a good thing she didn't do the Jarrett and Diana thing. I don't know whether it would have been better, or I would have appreciated that better had they been married and stayed for a year and then divorced. Because for Devin, you could tell he was all in. His little niece was excited, and Devin chose to say yes when he was asked if he wanted to get married. And then for Virginia to turn around and say, I love you first, and then wait a moment before saying that, actually, I'm not ready. I don't get it. I was devastated for the little niece, because she was asking everyone, because her grandma was crying, her mom was crying, so she was asking what's going on, and then the granddad had to say she said no. And I don't think the family were prepared for this. This was different to the Joey situation. I wish she had prepared this man and told him that I'm going to say no. Given the fact that she knows he's had history of substance abuse, whereby he's battled with issues, and so for her to not say that was devastating. Devin was heartbroken, because he did everything he thought she wanted him to do in order for her to say yes. He signed the prenup because she wanted a prenup. And really tried to sort of be open-minded to what she wanted. And so for her to say no was something he didn't understand. His sister was mad. Because she said, I don't understand these girls. What exactly do they want? I get where his mom is coming from, because his mom said she can't say she's not ready when she got signed up for this experiment, knowing that you'd get married in a few weeks. If she knew she wasn't ready, why did she sign up? I don't think Virginia really liked Devin. I think she liked the idea of winning Devin over Brittany, but I don't think she cared for him as much as Brittany did. For Virginia to say one of the reasons why she said no is because of their difference in political views, it's like, well, the moment you found out, you should have broken it off. You didn't need to continue with this man. You didn't need to go and see his family. You didn't need to give them the impression that you're going to say yes down at the altar. For her to say sexually, we didn't get there. So what exactly were the two of you doing? It gives me the impression that some people are saying yes to a proposal just so they can be on Netflix. just for clout. And this is the way it's coming across with Joey and with Virginia, that they signed on to this show knowing for a fact that yes, they liked their partner, but they were not all there and they weren't never going to say yes. And so they decided to go along just to be on TV, not realizing that they're breaking someone in the process, which is really devastating for someone like Monica and someone like Devin, because they went in thinking that their partner is going to say yes, only for their partner to say at the last minute, no, I'm not ready for marriage. I didn't like that. That was devastating. Next to get married is Daniel and Taylor. Daniel and Taylor have been very steady throughout the experiment, in the sense that from the moment they realized that this is the person that I like and they created a connection and a bond, they haven't gone back, or they haven't sort of been in the drama with anyone else. Yes, they had the issue after the reveal where Taylor was saying, this man, I know him from somewhere. He followed me on Instagram and then he unfollowed me. And so he knew what I looked like. That's the only drama they had. And so to see them on their wedding day so excited, you could tell they were going to be a yes. You could tell they were going to be a yes from the moment you saw how excited they were and how relaxed everybody seemed to be around them. Taylor, we know her mom was initially against this because she didn't believe that you could find your partner this way. So she was a bit hesitant in regards Daniel. But I think Daniel won her over. As I said in previous reviews, that Daniel won her over when he came to meet them with his parents. And the fact that his parents were very supportive and very caring towards Taylor, I think is the reason why the mom has been won over. I love that her mom was there to help her change. Her mom was very supportive, which was cute. It was really cute and nice to see that, someone has family that are there supporting and cheering for them, because most people do have loved ones they're cheering for them anyway. But it was nice to see that Taylor's mom has actually changed her opinion and has actually grown to really be fond of Daniel. Daniel, he had his friends come up and speak to him. And then his dad came, and the friends were asking his dad that, how do you feel about Daniel getting married? And his dad was very excited. And he said, this I'm not worried about, because when I was younger and I had my children, I was very nervous. Yes, this reminds me of that, but in a different way, because his daughter was the first one to be born and she was born visually impaired, so he struggled with that for a bit. So when they had Daniel, obviously he had that worry about visual impairment, but then when Daniel came out normally, he just spent some time just celebrating that before letting everybody know that the baby was here. And so to have a son like Daniel, who's very quiet, it seemed Daniel was sort of very easygoing, and I don't know whether he's had to be easygoing because his sister required a lot of support and assistance, or whether that's just who he was born to be. Taylor's dad came to see her. He was excited. He was happy. He was a bit nervous, and I think there was this sort of sense that what if they say no? But I think both families were content that there was going to be a yes. Taylor was walked down the aisle by her mom and dad. You had Daniel walk down the aisle with his mom while his sister sang. I thought that was the sweetest moment ever. It's really difficult to find a moment in the wedding that you can say that I didn't like. I loved their vows. They both wrote down their vows. Taylor and Daniel are very sort of dependable, reliable people, and they're very sort of people that are sort of planners, it seems. I love that Daniel freelanced on his vows to sort of compliment his bride and sort of talk about how amazing she was and how happy he was to be marrying her. Taylor, on her part, read her vows as well and spoke about how there are certain things she had asked for in a groom and how Daniel embodies all the things she had asked for. I love it. We also found out when Daniel was talking to his friends that they had abstained from sex. It's not that it's something they planned on, but it's something they just decided to do and wait until wedding night. So he couldn't wait for wedding night. It seemed he was happy for everything to be over and done with. I love that they both said yes. This was the sweetest thing ever. They both said yes. And one thing I've noticed about Taylor and Daniel is they give me very reliability and dependability vibes. They remind me of Zach and Bliss a lot, in the sense that they give me vibes of people that went into this looking for their soulmate, found their soulmate and stuck to that. Yes, Zach sort of wavered because he was worried about Bliss because he didn't think that she was real, but the moment he realized that she was who it said on the packaging, he took it and ran with it. And I have a feeling Daniel and Taylor are going to do the same. They both said yes. Both families were excited. They were excited about the vows, especially Daniel's mom. And you could, to see them sort of just sit down and just relax like an old married couple and just be there doing their interview was the sweetest thing ever. I think for this season, they are the couple for the season. They are, because everybody else, I think majority were there for clout, but it seems like they were really there to find their partner. I think Taylor, with her dad's sickness, that's something that pushed her to want her dad to be present. And so this is why she decided to do this. And I'm so happy that they got the happily ever after that they were looking for. I want to pretend and say that I'm surprised with who said yes and who said no, but I'm not. Let's be for real, I'm not. Am I surprised that Joey said no? No, because of the way he came across. And so to see him at the end of the wedding and sort of walking off and saying he doesn't see any relationship with Monica afterwards tells you that he checked out a long time ago. It's either he checked out at the reveal or he checked out when he saw the other sort of engaged couples, because at the end of the day, I understand he's dating one of the recently, separated girls from the experiment. Monica, she seems devastated. She really is devastated that this man sadly didn't live up to what she expected him to live up to. I think she expected him to say yes. So the idea that he said no is something that she's going to struggle to sort of get over, which is really sad for her. I'm really sad that she got to this point, but hey, what do? You can't force someone to love you. You can only allow them to choose you. I think if Monica wants to have a successful relationship, she needs to avoid sort of bringing that person around her sister and getting her sister's opinion, because at the end of the day, her sister seems to like the things that she likes, in the sense that she's dating one of her exes and now she's hypercritical of her fiance. So I think she needs to stay clear of her. With Sarah and Ben, am I surprised? No. Sarah was never into Ben. Sarah liked the idea of being on TV and sort of parroting her beliefs, but I don't think she liked the idea of sort of being engaged to this man. And I wish she had told him, because sadly for him, regardless of what his ex-girlfriend, ex-partner said about him on social media, I wish she had told him if she had checked out. That way they could have broken things off. I have more respect for Dave, because Dave chose to break things off with Lauren than sort of drag things on. And apparently Sarah is dating one of the former guys from the pods, which is really sad given the fact that the girls spent a lot of time together. What do I think about Sarah? She was always going to say no. She really was always going to say no. And I'm surprised she doesn't date outside her race, because at the end of the day, with the beliefs and values that she holds, one would expect her to do just that. Devin is devastated, and I worry about Devin given his substance abuse history, in the sense that I hope he doesn't go back to that to try and sort of numb the pain, because he is heartbroken, because he tried to do everything that he thought would allow his bride to say yes on wedding day. And so for her not to say yes and not to sort of warn him in advance, I think was heartbreaking. For his bride, I think Virginia is just putting on an act. The fact that she says, I Devin needed someone who was dependable and I couldn't be that for him. The fact that she tries to, I prioritize myself. Yes, you prioritized yourself, but you should have given this man a heads up. You should have told him in advance that I'm going to say no. That way you could have walked off with your head held high and he could have done the same. So for you to sort of lead him on and give him the impression that the two of you are going to make this thing work and then it doesn't, I am devastated for Devin. I really am. And I'm sad that she didn't at least respect me enough to tell him that I'm going to be a no. And then you have Taylor and Daniel. I love Taylor and Daniel. The fact that they're just so laid back like an old couple, I get what they mean, that it seems like we've known each other for a lifetime. How easy and comfortable they are around each other is the sweetest thing ever. Their families were happy. You could tell they were celebrating Daniel and his quirky dance. I loved that for them. I really did. I can see them, staying married, having a family. I can see that. I can see them having the bliss and Zach sort of 1 year later. They're sort of trying for a child. I love this for them. I really do. And I love that Taylor's dad got to walk her down the aisle and see her get married to the love of her life. That's the sweetest thing ever, because as she said, a lot of people don't get to do that and don't get to get that opportunity. So I love that their families were able to be there and to celebrate their love and to celebrate them coming together as a partnership. I can't wait to see what happens next with the two of them. Anyway, it was a boring season, I don't want to lie. It's taken me forever, as you can see, to review this. So I'm happy that we're coming to the reunion and that's the end of it. And then I'll be reviewing Pop the Balloon. But anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 12. Bye guys.